Hi, this is Dave Steinberg. We're here with my great friend, Howard Kopel. Howard and I go back 30 years maybe, and he's a expert in title insurance, and he's one of the smartest guys I know in the title business. So Howard, tell us a little bit about title insurance and why home buyers need title insurance.
Well, sure. Title insurance is really, the word title insurance is really something of a misnomer. Most of the insurance that you'll buy, as a matter of fact, every insurance that you'll ever try to buy works differently than title. And here's why. You can't buy insurance against an accident that happened yesterday, against a fire that burned in your home yesterday, a flood, against an illness that happened yesterday. You can only buy insurance against something that happens in the future. Every kind of insurance that you'll think of, except title insurance. That is the only insurance that covers only things that happened yesterday and does not cover anything that happens tomorrow. So, in other words, where a normal insurance policy takes risk of bad things that might happen to you, to your home, to your family, and helps you mitigate the financial risk by spreading the risk over a lot of people. That's not what title insurance does. Title insurance works to make sure that whatever happened yesterday doesn't hurt you tomorrow.
Wow, that's a great point.
So, how do we do this? It's rather complex. In other words, most of the money that you pay for a normal insurance policy, as I say, for medical, for casualty, for car insurance, anything like that, most of that money goes to spread the risk. In other words, hopefully you're not going to have a car accident, but somebody will, because actuaries figure out that a certain percentage of people are going to have a car accident in a given year. And that's how they figure out what to charge. So they take your money and everyone else's money, put it into a big pool, and then they have money to pay out those people who need the money because of the accident. And that's where most of the money goes. Most of the money goes to pay claims, to pay losses. Title insurance, on the other hand, if we have a loss, that means we haven't done our job. Most of the money goes, the great majority of the money goes not to pay losses. It is to prevent losses. So the money goes to pay people who go and do research and make sure that when you spend a lot of money on a house, you're actually going to own that house and you're not going to have problems later. So there are many kinds of problems. What kind of problems could you have? Just a few of the problems are somebody, the last owner or two owners ago, had a mortgage and that mortgage somehow is still on the property. That is called a lien. There are many kinds of liens. If that lien is still on the property, you don't own the whole property. You own the property less whatever it costs to cover that lien. So title insurance goes and does research to make sure that liens and various other problems don't jump up and bite you later after you've spent an awful lot of money on buying a property. And it's not only for you. You also pay for mortgage title insurance. And that's for the same reason. The bank is willing to lend you a lot of money to help you buy your house, and that's wonderful. But the bank also wants to make sure that its investment in the property, and that's what a mortgage is, it's a bank's investment in the property. So the bank is going to require that you have title insurance for coverage on the bank, which you end up paying for because that's part of the cost of getting a mortgage. Now, how does that happen? Either you will come to Howard Kopel or someone else, or your mortgage broker, your friendly mortgage broker, like Dave Steinberg will suggest someone, or the bank may have someone that they might suggest, although in many states, it's illegal for a bank to force you to use anyone in particular. But in any event, that's how it happens.
To be clear, Howard, if you are going to take out a mortgage, if a consumer is taking out a mortgage, their lender will require that they have title insurance to make sure that there are no liens that are not discovered.
That's exactly right, David. The bank will require the borrower to pay for and engage a title insurance company, whether it's for a refinance or a purchase, to pay for a title insurance company to research the property and make sure that there are no liens affecting the property, which would affect the bank's investment in the property.
Right. I bet over the years that you've been in this business, you've had stories, you've had things that pop up. You want to share a couple of those?
Well, we've been in the business, let's see, my company, my wife and I started about 36 or 37 years ago. So yes, we might have a few stories. Just understand that if there is a claim or if there's a problem, that means we haven't done their job. We haven't done our job. So we have a lot of work to do. What kind of story do I see? Sometimes people think that they can buy a house and they can just do the research and get away without title insurance, because once you've done the research, it's fine. You don't have to worry. And you know what? That's correct about 99% of the time. But that other 1%, boy, that could really jump up and bite you badly. An example, someone buys a home on Monday. Monday, he bought a home. They did research. They did research a week or two ago, and they find out that everything is nice and clear. But guess what happened in that week? Somebody went ahead and filed a lien against the house, a lawsuit, let's say, not even for money, but for ownership of part of that property. And I've seen this happen. There's a boundary dispute. You think you own a strip of land, somebody else, your neighbor, thinks he owns that strip of land. They file something called a lis pendens, or a notice of pendency, which means the world is on notice that this property is in dispute, that strip of land is in dispute. You are automatically on notice. You don't have to actually know about it, but you're on notice. And guess what? The title insurance company did its job. They did the research, but that week, that gap period, there's something there and you're not covered. And you could incur a tremendous loss. That's one kind of thing that happens.
And that kind of thing seems to happen more right now in this COVID era, when there's a lag. The lag between something being, let's say, introduced to the courthouse and it being filed and appearing on record can be weeks and months instead of hours and days.
Well, that's one thing that can happen, although it's getting better because you can do something now called e-recording, which means we can record right out of our office online. But there are an awful lot of things, and you mentioned COVID. I'll broaden that and say, in good times, you have less problems. Problems go away in good times. When economic times are tough, you get crooks. People are looking to cheat you out of some money, and that just somehow multiplies. So that's what happens in bad times. COVID is a bad time. There are people who are in trouble. They're looking for money where they might not do something evil normally, but now they need the money and they're going ahead and go and do something.
What's the wildest story you remember? There's got to be one story that sticks to your head.
Well, sure. I remember there's one guy who went ahead and he had a whole scheme. What did he do? He borrowed money from bank number one. And he went ahead and then he forged a document called a satisfaction or release of mortgage. And he gave it to the county clerk, and the county clerk recorded it. Now, county clerks will record anything if they're in proper format. They don't look to see if it's real. They don't look to see if it's honest. They don't care. You pay them the fee, you give them the paper, they record it. Guess what? The title company comes along. There's no mortgage there because there's a satisfaction recorded. Well, this guy recorded a satisfaction. Then he went ahead and borrowed money from Bank B and Bank C and Bank D. And this property that's worth $200,000 or $300,000 all of a sudden has $1.5 million or $2 million worth of liens on it, mortgages on it. That actually happens. I've seen it happen several times. And that's the kind of thing that you can do your work, you can do your research, and you just might get caught completely innocently, but it happens. And that is something that I've seen happen a number of times.
Howard, in addition to doing the research and ensuring for good title, what other services are generally included, are provided by the title company, or in your case, the abstract company, in conjunction with the main service of detecting unfound
Well,
liens?
sure. Well, sure, David, there are several. One thing that is actually covered, if you do it right, is a survey. In other words, I mentioned a little bit earlier that sometimes you have a dispute with a neighbor over who owns a particular piece of land. Sometimes innocently, one surveyor does one property, another surveyor does another property, and it overlaps. Now, if you have survey coverage, if you've bought a new survey, you're covered for any issues on that. In other words, the title company will have to come and defend your interest in that property. If somebody goes ahead, if you don't get a new survey, you look at an old survey, well, there may be a fence on that property, but that fence may be new. Maybe after the time that survey was done, that fence may be on your property. You may have lost that property because somebody has been sitting on it for a number of years, and you get something called adverse possession. You've lost that property. Here's another thing. This is not covered, but it's terribly important. In certain areas, we do something called departmental searches. And that means we'll go to the city or town or village, and sometimes in some places more than one municipal government, and we search for violations against the property. Now, that's not a lien against the property, and it's not covered, but you sure as heck need to know about it. Because if you have violations, the government may require you to go ahead and correct those violations. That's going to cost you a lot of money. You need to know about it. So that's another kind of service, a very important service that we provide.
And then, in my experience, title companies research the taxes on the property. So we know the homeowner will know exactly what the taxes are and what has been paid and what has not been paid. Sometimes there are tax liens, I guess.
Yes, well, that actually is covered. That's like a survey. That is part of the coverage. It's actually more than survey, because survey, some people won't want to get a new survey. Everybody has tax searches. We do that almost automatically. That's required pretty much as part of a title search. That's just part of our research. And I said there are liens, there are all kinds of liens. There could be judgment liens, mortgage liens, and there are tax liens. Tax liens, real estate tax liens especially, supersede any other kind of lien. That comes before anything else, even if they're later in time. Normally, the earliest lien is the most important one. They get precedence. Tax liens are there, so we, as a matter of routine, every title company will automatically make a search and see where the taxes are, if they're up to date or not up to date. If we say they're up to date and they're not up to date, then the tax people will come and chase you, the homeowner, for those taxes, but we'll cover it. That's part of our job.
And then you also do the recordation, and that's an important service.
The recordation, once again, is part of the title insurance job. It's not really ancillary. It's a pretty much of an integral part of our job. When you record a document, that automatically puts the world on notice. Whether or not they really know, it doesn't matter. It's called constructive notice. Everyone knows that you have an interest in that property. Now, if we record that document immediately and somebody, let's say your seller, goes ahead and sells it to you on Monday and then sells it to somebody else on Wednesday and somebody else on Thursday, the first one who records the document wins. That's why it's very critically important for you, the homeowner, as well as for us, the title company, to record that document in the public records just as quickly as we possibly can. Because if we don't do it quickly, we could have a crook, or we could have just something innocent coming along and something called priming you or coming ahead of you, which could divest you of your interest in the property. And that's critical. So what does a title company actually do in its everyday job? Well, number one, we go down and we search the public records that's located in the county clerk's office. We will go ahead and look at a record of everything that happened to that property for the last usually 30 or 40 years, depends on where the property is and what we're looking for. So 30 or 40 years, we will check all the records of who owned that property. We will have to look and see if that property has been combined or divided, and make sure that your property, the property that you're buying, is the one that the seller actually owns. And that's one of the things we do. The next thing that we do is we'll check the liens. And what are liens? We're talking about mortgages, which can be a lien on the property. We can talk about judgments. Judgments are automatically liens against the property. Judgments can be from other people, and they can be from government agencies, tax liens, and they can be just automatic, like real estate taxes if they're not paid. We have to know about those tax liens, and we automatically search them. In many areas, we'll do departmental searches. We're going to the various municipal governments, your villages, your cities, your towns, sometimes even the state, and making sure that there are no violations against the property, and that your certificate of occupancy, which says that you're allowed to reside in this one family or two family or three family house, is correct. And making sure that you know that they've got the proper permits filed and all those good things. And then we'll check the survey. Now we'll check the survey, either a new survey or an old survey in some cases, which can be just eyeballed. The old survey is less safe than a new survey. A new survey will cost some money, but it's much safer. Make sure that the property that's outlined in your deed is the property that you think that you're getting and that you're supposed to get. Then we will take all the important documents from the closing, such as the mortgage and the deed, and we will record it in the county clerk's office. And that is what puts the world on notice, once again, that you actually own that property and that anyone else touches it at their peril.
You know, Howard, I know, because I know you a long time, that title insurance is only one part of your life. You're blessed with a beautiful family, your wife Esther, your kids, grandkids already, and that's marvelous. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Oh, my family, let's see, 4 children, 13 grandchildren so far. And we've been married for 48 years. We believe it looks like it may work out. And I'm happy. I'm a happy man in terms of that. 4 beautiful children, 3 of them, unfortunately, you try to raise your kids properly and then they go to law school anyway. So 3 of my kids are lawyers, just like I am. And the fourth one is a mere accountant, the CPA. And she's actually in the business with me. So that's my family. I do other things as well. A good part of my day is spent, in my old age, I started getting into politics. And I am a member of the Nassau County legislature. I've been there for 13 years and change now.
I'm sure
And
you
at this,
do that for the money.
oh yeah, yeah. If you get into politics for the money, you also risk going to jail. And I don't mind my name in the paper, but not for bad things.
So
So
what is it about serving in the legislature that, why is it, what is it in you that led you to serve in the legislature?
well, at a certain point, I realized that I've been busy with myself, earning a living, doing things with my family, and that's important. But I hadn't really given back to the community, and I'm not a career politician. As I said, I started relatively late in life. I was, I think, 57 or 58 at the time, and I figured it's time to start giving back to the community to the extent that I can, and uh, trying to represent people, uh, like-minded people, hopefully, and helping to make our community and our county a better place to live and to work. And hopefully I've been accomplishing a little bit over there. At this point, I'm deputy presiding officer, which means maybe a lot, maybe not so much, but maybe they didn't have anyone else who could do it. I don't know. But there I am. I'm still there for a while, and we'll see how that goes.
Fantastic. Is there anything you want to, do you want to do a blurb about Sutton?
Blurb about Sutton.
So Howard, let me do that. Let me ask you a question and you can respond. Howard, I've been working with you for many, many years because I find that the trust factor is there, and your staff is incredibly efficient and really does a great job for my clients when we refer you. What are you most proud of about Sutton?
Well, what I'm most proud of about Sutton is that we do things straight down the middle. We are, we don't cut corners. We don't tell people things that they want to hear just because they want to hear it. We try to do things in the correct fashion. And that's why we're one of the oldest companies in the New York metropolitan area. And by the way, at this point, again, fairly unusually, we're in about 37 states. 37 states and jurisdictions. I mentioned jurisdictions because there's DC, which is not yet a state. Who knows? So we do a lot of our work out of state as well, because our clients in New York, as they move and they do things elsewhere, they insist on going with us. So at this point, we've got offices in Texas as well. We've got several offices in Texas, and we do a lot of business in Florida. Got a little office over there, and a few other little places around the country. And we do a lot of commercial work. That is probably our biggest claim to fame. Is we do not only house deals, but we do very significant commercial deals, sometimes involving billions of dollars per transaction.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's us. We've been around, as I say, for 37 years. It's a family business. The second generation, my daughter and my son-in-law are in the business, and they're not only in the business, they're starting to pretty much run the business with my help and advice, and my wife's help and advice. My wife, Esther, I should say, has been there since the beginning, 37 years, and she's my partner, and we started the business together.
It says a lot about you and Esther and your relationship that a 48-year marriage has survived 37 years of working together in partnership in the business.
I guess it really does.
That's a
but we
pretty
made-
unique statement right there.
Well, we made sure our offices are not right next to each other.
Ah,
But she does her thing and she does it well, and I do my thing, and some people may think it's well, and maybe not. But whatever it is, we do work well together. Yes, and it's worked out.
thank you so much.